Are you ready to become awesomer? Hello everyone, my name is Umar Hamid. I'm your host on the No Limit Selling podcast, where industry leaders share their tips, strategy, and advice on how you can become better, stronger, faster. Just before we get started, I've got a question for you. Do you have a negative voice inside your head? We all do, right? I'm going to help you remove that voice in under 30 days guaranteed. Not only remove it, but transform it. So instead of the voice that sabotages you, there's one that propels you to much higher levels of performance and success. There's a link in the show notes. Click on it to find out more. All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling podcast. Today, we have the privilege of having Michael Permack here today. He's the head honcho at, help me pronounce
Spire Group.
Spire Group. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So what I did there, Michael, was I hiccuped on the name of the thing. I could have said it, but I opted to let you do it. And the reason I wanted to start off with that is that in our world, we're so scared to look weak, or we don't know what we're doing, and we pretend to be better than we are, that when you are your authentic self, there's power there and there's connection there. And rather than people seeing you for being weaker, it actually creates strength. Kind of thoughts on that? Am I like smoking something I shouldn't be smoking?
No, I actually think, I just took a transformational leadership course with the Boston Breakthrough Academy.
Nice.
And a big thing about it is being vulnerable and also being in your heart. So I'm all over that.
Like today, I just landed a client, and it was the final meeting with the CEO. Started the company 40 years ago. His son's the president, and he'll be taking over in the next 2-3 years. And the guy says, do you know why why should we hire you? Like, what do you bring to the table? And I said, what I bring to the table is integrity. And he says, that's not why we're hiring you. We're hiring you for your passion. But I said, in the past, my passion was designed to make me look good and for me to win. And now I think, wiser, it's like, how can we get the change for you and your organization is more important than me looking good?
Yeah, I get it.
And so you've been a leader for a while. Tell me about in your earlier days when you were younger and dumber, what did you think an aspect of leadership was that turned out later on, as you look back, that really wasn't it? Do you have one of those things that you learned?
I have a lot of those things because I've been in business for 35 years. So of course, and times changed over those decades, which is incredible that I say decades now. But the one thing that I know is that it's shifted from, I'm telling you what to do now is more into a collaborative approach where you enroll your team in your vision or in their vision for themselves. It depends on the situation, but it's all been enrolling your employees as opposed to like telling them what to do. I mean, sometimes you get to do that, but that's corrective action. But in general, you want them to be, live their best lives, and in order for them to do that, you have to have a compelling vision.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to come back to what you just said in a moment, but I'm going to focus on the vision. I think there's 3 main responsibilities of a leader. Number 1 is that compelling vision that's strategically sound, but inspires people to go, that's a journey worth taking. And the second thing is, how do you build a culture that is not selfish? It's not about my department and me looking good. It's how do we win? And doing that is like a real tough thing to do. So a leader has to focus on that. And the third one is long-term shareholder value. How do you make this thing more valuable? And if you can do that, you get to be a leader. And if you don't get the culture thing right, you get dragged down into operations where there's this VP doesn't get along with that VP or that kind of stuff. So have you been in an organization where the culture wasn't right and you helped correct it?
So that's a really great question. It's not my own company, but I was a board member of Canada's largest charity, as a cancer charity. And I was outvoted 15-1 on their plan. I was on the board, and I said, I guess I should leave. And that turned into the head of the company, sort of head of the charity, coming to me as I was walking to the elevator and saying, you can't leave. And then I started a 7-year journey because I'm a cancer survivor to work with a small group of bandits that we actually totally changed the culture, the operating philosophy. There's just a ton of stuff that went on, but the main point of the culture was that independent cancer charities were working to raise money from the same people. So my thought was, why aren't we why don't we join forces? And what happened was towards the end, I enrolled, I'll call it a significant business person in Canada and he was able to merge prostate cancer with breast cancer with the overall cancer charities. But it was a vision that I had, like, it just came to me that why are we fighting against each other for money? Let's go do it together. And that win-win philosophy is huge. That's a big part of my life.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. And
yeah,
you would think that people in the cancer business would be benevolent, but it's not. It's that human nature to be selfish. And what if we share it? They'll take our share. And it's like, no, you'll grow the pie, but we can't get that.
Yeah, it's a very, so imagine for a second that, you're sitting in a hospital, you're not well. And that's who I focused on. I focused on the patient and their families.
Yeah.
What was happening at the board level, where they're focusing on pens and pencils and how much are we spending on marketing and this and that. And I get the performance measures that they're needed, but with the outcome being that the patients and their families and the researchers and the people are going to really make a difference, really needed to get engaged and be supported. So in fact, I was in one province in Canada where I was the only provincial lead. I had an open house for all the employees, and we told them from the board level what was going on. And there was 100 employees, 80 showed up, and they were so grateful just to know what was going on. So it was the dynamics were top down, and then we said, ask the board anything, and it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, it's really kind of interesting. As a leader of a company, you are stuck in the middle. So you've got employees that are looking up to you, and then you've got a board that's sometimes looking down upon you, but really it's the CEO that has to lead the board, because oftentimes they don't get it. The whole idea is they're supposed to get it, but it's how do you focus them in an area? So a lot of times you get people that join a board and they're taking up space. And really, as a leader, you have to say, like, either step up or step off. You just can't be there and coast, because oftentimes the board members have a kick-ass amazing Rolodex and they have the ability to do things for the organization, but they're just waiting there. Tell me what to do. It's like, shut the hell up and go call your Rolodex and do something amazing.
Well, I was very fortunate in that I won a Governor General Award for that, turning around the organization. But I was more fortunate that with the people I worked with, because they actually did step up and they supported me in many ways. Like I can't even tell you, but the biggest thing is they saw me as a change agent, and I was not going to take no for an answer because of the importance of the cause, which is the vision. The vision is why can't we work all together to help people with cancer, period. Fundraising, research, whatever it was, it didn't matter. So that was the emphasis. And when I had a few people say to me, this will never work, it's not going to happen. What do you know? All that stuff. And I just said, you're right. I don't know anything. And then I would just, boom, I just speak my piece, and people resonated with it. And I got a lot of resistance. That's one thing with change. I got a lot of resistance from the status quo. And my answer to them, like one person said, this will never work. And she was a significant leader in the organization. And I said, you know what? You don't have to stay. If this isn't good for you, I think it's the right thing to do personally, but if you don't have to stay. And she was taken aback, and I didn't even work there. I was a volunteer, but I knew the right thing to do.
I did some work with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in the US, and they were just an average charity doing good work.
Hmm.
And then this gentleman, his son got sick, and he happened to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company and decided to take over as president of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And he had a different mindset, and his mindset was money is the key differentiator between whether we're going to be successful or not. Because in a lot of charities, it's like they have a charity mindset. Won't you please give me one more dollar? Can I have another?
Yes.
And it's like, and he came in and said, no, we need to raise funds. And they ended up setting up a venture capital fund that funded treatments that are like on the last stages of trials to actually make a significant impact. And they have
Wow.
the distinction now of raising more money per sick person than any other charity in the US. And
Oh man, that's transformational.
yeah, and then they got all the volunteers. It's mostly a volunteer organization, and those people are on freaking fire with passion. So he awoke the volunteers. He got the scientists working, raising funds, and just focused on what was the most important, which is the people and the experience that families and patients have. And how do
Wow.
we fund research that actually cures this thing rather than just go through the motions of stuff? And it was like quite inspiring.
Yeah. So I that was a highlight of my career, but like it wasn't about the award. It wasn't about achieving whatever. It was about it was just doing good for, like, there's 37 million Canadians and they were all going to be impacted. So yeah, so I'm focused on helping more than 37 million Canadians. I have a big purpose. So
Yeah, and if you find the cure here, it's kind of contagious. It could go worldwide, which is like amazing. Wherever it comes from, Poland, Canada, it doesn't make a difference as long as it
no,
impacts. By the way, just a pop quiz for you, because
yes,
like you're dozing off on this podcast. What's the
no.
difference between Americans and Canadians? I'll
Oh,
tell
that's an interesting. That's interesting. So I believe Americans are generally really good people, and they don't have the same social safety nets that we have in Canada. Our taxes are higher to provide social safety nets. They're very competitive, the U.S., and I think that's great. But I believe, and that, don't, I'm just one man talking, but I believe that everybody's headed to the same conclusion, that whatever we do, we have to pick up the marginalized people and make sure they're okay. I'm not saying they're great, but they have to be okay. And that's what I see as a commonality. And I think that's, it's headed in that direction. I'm hopeful for that. The other thing is the amount of money in the U.S. versus Canada is, we're 10 times less population, but we're, I don't know, 30 times less wealthy. We have resources that we're not selling, which are the cleanest, the oil, for example, and natural gas, which are, we've developed really clean energy. Even like oil and gas industry is really focused on being clean, and it's being hampered by regulations and government control and all that stuff. So in the US, I know there's some of that, but in Canada, it's really tough.
Yeah, and I think there's commonalities between both people. And initially, I was just going to tell you a joke. The difference between Canadians and Americans, when you ask an American, who are you? They go, I'm an American. When you ask Canadians, who are you? We go, we're not Americans.
That's actually true. That's and when this goes way back, but when I backpacked Europe, I for sure had a Canadian flag on.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of Americans do the same thing.
Yeah.
So, you're a business guy, you're in sales, and tell me about some of the salespeople, or one of the salespeople you were leading that was struggling, and how you discovered what the issue was that was blocking them, and how you got them to overcome it, and how you allowed them to shine. Does someone come to mind when I ask you?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to just use his initials, JS. Yeah, JS. He was very technical, and when we're selling to our clients to get them to retain us, it's great to have that technical background, but they want to develop trust, and the trust is based on a feeling that
Yes.
they get that you're in their corner. I know this about, so we're in the medical industry. We help healthcare professionals with their finding locations and renewing their leases, et cetera, et cetera. And we also have something called the Healthcare Investor Network, which we help doctors and dentists and other healthcare professionals invest their fund money in a safe way. But going back to JS, he was wrapped up in the technical.
Right.
He would say, this is how many footsteps it takes to go from the front counter to and he would tell them that in the sales meetings. And I would say they don't really care. What they want to know.
What are you talking about? No, you don't understand, Michael. But please go on.
Yeah, so I helped him with a process for sales that I've used for years. And I gave him what I call the wheel. And he started to implement that. And he couldn't believe how fast his sales turned around because he wasn't talking about extraneous things.
So JS, did you say was the?
Yeah, JS, yeah.
So what's interesting is the person isn't here, but I bet if I asked them in their worldview, their strategy was perfectly sound and the world was crazy.
Yes.
And then
that's exactly right.
You offer this new model of the world, which to JS, that sounds crazy. This will never work because it's stupid, because why would it work? And then if they actually apply it in the way that was intended, then they get the results that you promised and they go, wait a minute, this is much better. But I suspect other people that you would have advised in this exact same situation, if they didn't trust in you, they would have tried your technique in a way that was designed to fail, like half-heartedly, one step off. Yeah. And when it failed, it just validates their belief that their way is right and your way is wrong. So part of the business of leadership is really managing beliefs, and you do a lot of that through trust. So yes. How do you recommend people build trust with the people that they're leading?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll take the same person, but I have other people, like it's the same tactic. You as a leader get to, not have to, you get to spend time with the sales team or the salesperson or even admin people if it's required. You get to spend time with them to learn what's important to them. And then you frame it around that, because we're talking about their vision. I mean, they go home at night and they have to talk to their spouse, or they have a kid that's sick, or whatever's going on for them. That's real. So yeah. the more that I am engaged with them on a personal level, and I give a shit. Oh, sorry, I care. Sorry.
There's no
I care about them
in Canada. Then we're fine.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That I care about them legitimately, and they feel that, because I do. Some people don't fit with that, but that's the type of people that we have in our company, and we support the person personally. So there's no hidden agendas. So it's taking the time to get to know what your people want. They're almost a customer in a different way. That's to motivate them, is to be connected to them, because connection breeds trust. Or not. And sometimes what happens is they don't want to tell you what's really going on. And my experience is that doesn't work out well for them.
Or anybody, or the organization. Yeah. A lot of times I'm working with a company right now, mm-hmm. and it's a father and two sons run it. And the sons are not telling their father the truth, not because lie, mm-hmm. but even if it was a boss and two subordinates. I heard this thing, it was the MGM, one of the founders of the studio. Well, he's got a quote: "I don't want to work with yes men. I want people to tell me the truth, even if it gets them fired."
Well, I would say that we're not apt to fire people often, but we also, if you're sticking out like a sore thumb, it's not best for anybody, right? If they're not. Mm-hmm.
If you've got a really good leader, mm-hmm. they train their subordinates that it is your responsibility to have the courage to speak up when something is wrong. And sometimes you are going to be absolutely correct. We need to fix it. And sometimes you're going to be wrong, in which case we can have that conversation and settle the situation. But if you think something is wrong and you keep your mouth shut, or worse, after the management meeting, you and 3 other managers go in your office and have the real meeting, it just creates a cancer there. And I think, one, the courage to speak up, and then the strength to hear, because oftentimes when somebody points something out that's weakness, instantly people get into a defensive mode where you really have to get on the same side of the table and go, so tell me, what are you seeing? Because you get that trust and that intent right. There's an issue, we need to solve it. Either it's a real issue, in which case we solve it, or it's not a real issue, in which case you enlighten me. But if we've got that kind of shorthand, oftentimes it never makes it to the leadership team in the first place. Managers just have a conversation in the hallway. It's like, oh, let's sort this out. It's done. Let's move forward. If we can't sort it out, the weekly team meeting is the place to sort it out, because you got 8 super smart people can focus their energies on this issue and solve it like that, rather than let it fester for 6 months.
It's almost so simple, but here's what I would say. I take total responsibility for everything in my life. Everything. So if it's not going well, then for like in my family, whatever, I'm taking responsibility for that. So that what that means, and I talk to our people about this, what that means is you can no longer be a victim.
Yeah.
And can't complain. So if I'm taking total responsibility, right, then, and you're taking total responsibility, then we can come to a really good outcome. That's my experience.
Absolutely. And let's say I don't take total responsibility, and you take total responsibility, and I do something really, really bad. And if you say, well, it's Umar's fault, it's out of your hand. But if you say, I attracted Umar into my life, what's the universe trying to teach me through this interaction?
1000%.
Yeah. And then even I'm a firm believer in this concept of useful lies. Even if what you're saying is total bullshit, it's still useful, that allows you and the organization to thrive.
Yes.
I happen to believe it is the truth, but the way I look at it is, if you take a look at the ultimate truths that Einstein had, that other people had, that are now turning out not to be accurate, but they still allowed us to progress for like 60 years and develop technologies and cell phones, even though it wasn't 100% true. And now we will get a better model. And that model is not going to be the truth. The definition of model is, this is our best guess.
Right.
Use it till we get a better one. And one of the things I hope I do is, because I am wickedly smart in certain areas, but I always think this is the best that I know, but it's probably wrong. And that allows me to be on the hunt. Like this interview today, there's tips I'm going to take from this interview that I'm going to say, you know, that guy, Michael, he's full of shit in this area. Or genius in this area. And there's going to be other stuff that you say that I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm going to put it on the fence. And then as I go through life, I'm going to get more data that's going to let me put it on the, oh my God, this is really useful or not useful. And that's at least my path to getting better, is just assuming what I know is wrong and being on the lookout. It's the best that I know, but there's a better way. And if I've got that lens on, I'm looking for stuff to make it better. And believe me, I find a lot of shit that I thought was right that is not.
Oh yeah. When you're starting something new, right? It's scary. It's, you know, you're on sand, you're not on solid ground, and it's really uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable, you're growing. That is where I've placed myself in so many uncomfortable positions, and it's turned out, every time I do it in a material way, like, you know, I'm not talking about something small, something big. It, you know, there's fear, there's doubt, there's this, there's that. But if I believe it's right, and I set my right intentions, it turns out that over the long run, it just works. So I'll give you a perfect example, not business. My daughter had a stroke when she was born. Wow. She was very...
Stop there just for a second. Yeah. Holy shit. A stroke when she was born?
Yes.
I can't imagine how scary that was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they said she'd never walk, she'd never talk, all that stuff. She doesn't have a third of her right hemisphere. So yeah, it was painful. It was sad. It was, you know, we're new parents. It was really hard. And so she had some social issues as she was growing up. like didn't fit in and all that. And even with us, she was not that every daughter isn't contrary, but she was really contrary. And I just kept saying to her, because I had a vision for in my mind for her, that I am not gonna, every time she did something like I didn't approve of, or or as a dad I was worried about, I said, I'm not going to give up on you. And at 25, she said, hey, you never gave up on me. So that's the kind of thing where if you set your intention,
Yeah.
and you're saying, okay, this is the outcome I want, this is my vision, it eventually gets there most of the time. It may take longer than you want. It may take much longer. And that's okay, because you're fail, like you've heard a million times. And then click, the thing, something clicks and it locks in, and you're now on a flywheel.
So two things come up. One, a movie I saw a million years ago. There's this guy in this bar or restaurant with this woman. I'm not sure what their relationship is, but there's a gorgeous, gorgeous woman on the other side, and he's like almost drooling for her. And the woman he's with is saying, you really think she's beautiful? Yes. The guy dating her right now for 6 months is already tired of her. So the reason I mention that is that we get a vision of, when I get the job, this job is going to change everything. When we finally get there, it's like, I thought it would be better. And it's really that journey of getting there. If you can enjoy that. And thank you for sharing the story about your daughter. And like getting at 25 when she said that,
oh my God,
felt great, because this is my guess, because you had that notion that I'm going to love you anyway, that it allowed you to deal with it more wholeheartedly, because you had that mindset. It might have felt bad at the moment, but it's still to handle it in a different way than you would have otherwise. And that allowed that outcome to happen. But at least the journey was a lot more enjoyable for both of you going there. So don't forget the journey. That's
oh my God,
100% of the thing. The end result, is that all there is basically the reaction a lot of times. Like, I love seeing new places. I love achieving new things. But if I have fun going on that journey there, it's so much richer. And there's probably 1,000 times more joy on the journey than you get at the end of it all. Because the new car smell, it's a real big thrill for a day or two. But after that, it's just like your nose blind to it.
And you go, for me anyway, my mind goes to what's next. Like almost immediately. I don't understand quite why my mind does that, but I think actually I do. I just had an epiphany, because I mentioned to you in our pre-interview. It just came to me now that I'm the longest living brain tumor survivor I can find, and so I shut down for a number of years because they told me I was going to die and whatever, and not whatever, but it was really hard. And now I survived. And so I think I have a understanding of mortality that I got at 29 that most people didn't. I used to look at it like I was a victim to that for sure. I didn't understand it. Why would at 29 and all that? But now I see it as a gift in terms of, wow, I know I have limited time. I'm for sure want to achieve as much as I can, and and leave it. I don't know. It's not leave a legacy. It's more like do the best work I can for the period of time I'm here.
Yeah.
And I'm talking on three levels. So for my family, for our collective customers, who we have lots of customers, but also on the volunteer front and social causes. Nice. And I'm not talking about cancer, but those are my three sort of absolutely. Pillars. Brilliant. Yeah. And those three pillars, they intersect, because if something is not good at home, I can't perform for our customers or the social good. If something's not good with the social good, I'm saying, I'm trying to figure that out. So but that's my three pillars that I that I've developed over time. And I got to tell you, the most rewarding ones are the charity, not the money.
I believe
The causes.
So I saw this TV show. It was called Human Weapon, where there's two heroes. One is like a mixed martial artist, and the other guy was a football player that also does some kind of martial arts. And they would go around the world looking for martial arts. And when they went to Japan, of course, they were looking at the ninjas. And so they go from different temples and they learn different techniques. At the end of the hour show, they actually go to the headquarters, and one of them has to fight a badass ninja or a badass karate guy, wherever they happen to be in the world. Yeah. And they're about to fight this badass ninja guy. And they go to the Grand Master Flash of the ninjas. He's like 99 million years old, an ancient guy. And through a translator, they say, is there one word of wisdom that you could give me before I go in the ring with this other guy who's like going to kill me? Yeah. And this is the advice he gave him. You have to embrace your death. By embracing your death, you have the freedom to live and thrive. And I think you discovered that at an early age. That
I didn't know that was that, when it first happened.
No,
but it was a shock. But I get it. Like, especially now, I never thought I'd be 59. Yeah. I never thought I'd make it. And now I see, not that I see the end, but I see, life's not forever. And, I want to play, and I would say this is something for your audience, is apply your efforts, because you have infinite possibilities, but not infinite time. So apply your time very, very carefully. Take time to think about, is this meaningful, or whatever you measure your time on? Is it monetarily success? Whatever you measure, however you measure time, I told you, in 3 buckets. So, but however you measure your time, focus. Don't let a minute go by. It's really precious.
Truly is. Last question for you.
Yeah, Michael, sure.
What makes you happy?
So I don't actually like the word happy. I like the word joy. What gives me joy? There's a few things. First of all, my family, travel, golf, transformational leadership is amazing, and just, how can I put this? Just making a difference in people's lives. When I completed an assignment for a client, or one of our team members completes an assignment, and they go, wow, thank God we hired you. That's joy, because we made such a difference. Yeah, it's your heart, exactly. It's not the pocketbook. Of course we get paid, that's a given, but it's what difference do we make in their lives, and that gives me joy.
That makes me happy too. Michael, thanks so much for being on the program.
Oh, thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you so much, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, see you later.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.